got to hand it to the Italians. When it comes to matching style to supercars, nobody does it better. Bring your McLarens, bring your Porsches, bring your Mercedes-Benz AMGs. When you see this car, those just don't attract the same level of attention. But this car is particularly special because it tries to prove that less is more. Up to now, the Lamborghini Huracán has only been available as the LP610-4, a four-wheel drive supercar with 449 kilowatt and 560 Newton meters on tap. But this is the new LP582, which makes do with rear-wheel drive only. The 5.2-litre V10 sheds 23 kilowatt of power and 20 Newton meters of torque, while there's a 29-kilogram weight saving too. Without the safety net of all-wheel drive, making full use of the car's urge becomes a more engaging, more thrilling affair. Thrilling is also a good word to describe the styling of the Huracán. It's a shape that looks angular, chiseled and aggressive, and it's a car that oozes performance and pedigree. It's a car that looks supersonic even when it's standing still. Of course, the Huracán's styling is shaped by more than just aesthetic considerations. The low-slung looks speak of clean aerodynamics, ensuring efficient airflow over, around and also under the car. Under the skin, the Huracán shares its chassis with the latest Audi R8, which signifies advanced tech and flawless engineering. The platform uses a combination of aluminium and carbon fiber reinforced plastic to save weight and improve rigidity. Just as well, because the Huracán isn't a small car, it still needs a full-sized parking bay, but it tips the scales at just under 1.4 tons. Combine that relatively low weight to a lively, normally aspirated V10 engine, and the result is explosive. This 5.2-litre unit produces a maximum power output of 426 kilowatt at a dizzying 8,000 RPM, linked to 540 Newton meters of torque. The gearbox, a 7-speed dual-clutch design, and as we've said, drive is to the rear wheels only. The rest of the package encompasses double wishbones front and rear, steel springs and gas-filled dampers. The LP582 maintains a 60-40 front-rear weight distribution, while the steering features electro-hydraulic assistance. It's common knowledge that Lamborghini is owned by Audi and that the Huracán and the Audi R8 are automotive blood brothers. And nowhere is that relationship more obvious than in the cabin of this car. Sure, the interior treatment is more Santa Gata than Ingolstadt. But having said that, all the electronic systems, from the virtual cockpit all the way to the drive mode selector, are very much Audi. And that's a good thing, because everything works with Teutonic precision. The Lamborghini take on Audi's virtual cockpit offers various options for the main instrument binnacle. You can opt for a big rev counter and digital speedometer, or populate the entire display with a sat-nav map. Additional smaller gauges are accommodated in the center console. Some of the ergonomic decisions are decidedly quirky though, like placing the indicator switch and headlight dim bright button on the steering wheel instead of on more user-friendly stalks. The two-seater cabin is spacious with comfortable bucket seats and an excellent driving position. Access is good by supercar standards despite the low roofline and the wide sills. Because the Huracán looks the supercar part, it also creates very high performance expectations. Expectations which, fortunately, the car lives up to in practice. In fact, from the very moment you start up that V10 and it shrieks into life, you know that you're in for a very special drive. The car certainly feels very wieldy, very agile, very lively. And once you get into the twisties, you just can't stop driving and you can't stop smiling either. Use launch control to experience what a 0 to 100 sprint time of 3.4 seconds feels like. But even without, it gets off the line with a real sense of urgency. In sport or race mode, the exhaust note hardens and the gear shifts are instantaneous. The claimed top speed of 320 kilometers an hour feels entirely feasible. So, how much different does this 582 feel compared to the all-wheel drive 610? Well, I haven't driven the 610, but I've driven its close relative, the Audi R8 V10 Plus, and I can tell you that this car feels edgier, livelier, and more involving. The turn-in a lot more responsive. The rear certainly a little bit looser, to the extent that initially the car feels a little bit intimidating, but you build confidence through each corner, and eventually you realize that this car spells supercar with a capital S. Certainly, the lines of communication between car and driver feel more succinct and more direct, so that the result is an all-consuming driving experience. Of course, you can switch the drive selector to Strada, initiate the cruise control, and allow the Huracán to purr along at saner highway speeds. In this role, the supercar feels almost docile while reeling off the kilometers with effortless ease. However, forget about traveling unobtrusively. The Huracán attracts attention like a snake in a chicken coop. Everyone wants to take a closer look. Sometimes it's just easier to give the Lambo stick, if only to let the fans hear just what a V10 in full cry really sounds like. At around 4.5 million rand, the LP582 is the most affordable Lamborghini on the market at the moment. But despite that, it serves up a bigger and tastier supercar slice than its more powerful LP610 stablemate. While a lot of people will prefer the 610's added traction and therefore added confidence, this is the more exciting car to drive, and as a result, also the more satisfying one. Nothing sounds quite like a normally aspirated V10 in full crime. A fantastic super quick gearbox adds to the pleasure, while rear-wheel drive makes for a succinct, all-engaging driving experience. The Huracán looks the supercar part 2, but the LP580 is less forgiving at the limit and not exactly cheap either.